Hello, today we're going to take a look at what it takes to set up and configure Isilon Cloudpools using ECS as our Cloudpools target. First, we'll look at what you need to have configured on the ECS cluster prior to setting up the Isilon Cloudpools in Isilon and DNS. So as you can see, we're looking at the ECS interface right here. And what I have configured so far is I have storage pools, I have a virtual data center, I have a replication group, I do have an object user. You do not need to create any buckets because Isilon actually creates its own buckets. You can see there are 3 created right now. Once we complete this exercise, there will be 2 new ones that the new Isilon will create on this ECS. You also need an object-based URL. So this is important, especially with ECS 3.4. It actually requires you use a fully qualified domain name and not an IP address. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into DNS and create the entries that we need to make in order to connect our Isilon Cloudpools to the ECS. All right, first we need to create an ANAME. So I just, if you didn't see that, just right-clicked out in the open right here, or you can right-click on your lookup zone right there. Go to New Host. I want to call this one this ECS. So this is my fully qualified domain name for my ECS cluster. It's going to be ecs.jblab.com. My IP address is 192.168.10.20. So a couple things to point out. I am using ECS Community Edition, so I am pointing this at a single virtual node running. If this is a real ECS installation using real hardware, you should absolutely be using load balancers, whether that be hardware or software, depending on the size of the cluster and performance needed. You should be using load balancers. KEMP or F5 are what are recommended typically. KEMP seems to be a little bit easier to use. There are ECS profiles already set up for KEMP, and KEMP offers some great services along with white glove treatment, things like that, to help out with things such as this. But to continue on, we're creating our ANAME. So we're creating this host. So our fully qualified domain name is going to be ecs.jblab.com, and the IP address that it's pointing to is 192.168.10.20 in this case. So we're going to go ahead and add the host. You can see that the host was successfully created. All right. Now, just because DNS can be finicky sometimes, what I like to do is, after I pretty much do anything, I just like to refresh just to make sure that, or reload just to make sure that everything, kind of sticks, if you will. That just helps me make sure everything works, and also like to do a refresh. Okay, so I've got my ANAME created. Now I need to go in and create my CNAME or my alias. So this is going to be, and this is very important, especially with ECS 3.4. It does require a wildcard. There is a really good document that describes everything that you need to do. It's called the Isilon Cloudpools and ECS Solution Guide. I will put a link to that in the description below. But as far as the CNAME goes, what we need to enter in is a wildcard dot cloudpools. That's all we need to enter there. And then our ECS fully qualified domain name, that is going to be the ecs.jblab.com. So you can enter it in, or I always like to just browse to it, which is just another step to make sure that I've got things configured correctly. So there we go. I just browsed to it and found it already created. So I just hit OK there. Like I mentioned before, I always like to reload and then refresh as well, just to make sure things help things just get to stick, if you will. As you can see, we have the base URL created right there. Okay, now that we have made our 2 DNS entries, let's go ahead and hop over to the Isilon interface and actually create the cloud pool there. Alright, so here I am inside of OneFS, the Isilon interface. This is a virtual cluster, however, the process will be exactly the same if it was real hardware. So what I'm going to do is go to Storage Pools, I'm going to go to Cloud Pools, and then I'm going to create a cloud storage account. For here, we can name that anything. I'm just going to name it ECS, or type. I'm just going to put Dell EMC ECS appliance. For the URI, a couple different options here. I'm going to use http://isilon.cloudpools.jblab.com. And you always have to enter in the port. And this is where you have a couple different options. So you can use port 9020 if you're going with HTTP. If you're going with HTTPS, you need to be using port 9021. From there, we need the username. So you get this from the user that you created in ECS. So I'm back over in the ECS interface. I'm going to edit the user, and I'm going to show my secret key. So from there, I can copy paste the secret key for my user, put that into the Isilon Cloudpools configuration. I'm going to skip SSL certification, and then I am able to connect my account now. So as you can see, the account has been created. We have the cloud storage account. Now I'm going to go ahead and create the actual cloud pool itself. So once again, we can name this whatever you would like. For the type, once again, DLMC ECS appliance, and then here we found our cloud storage account, and now I can create my cloud pool itself. If I hop back over to the ECS interface, and I look at the buckets, we can see that there are 2 new buckets that were in fact created just now for Isilon to utilize as this cloud pool target. So as you can see, it's not that difficult. However, it does require you to use a fully qualified domain name instead of an IP address, as with previous versions of ECS. All right, thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of the day.